What's up, guys? It is due Hast Friday again, and today we're going to be finishing up the vent tank install, and we're going to be working on the sheet metal on the firewall. Now, what I've got done so far, I actually done this last night right before I left. The vent tank is installed. We've got nut certs in the center of this X brace here, or rather one nut cert, and then I've got two nut certs here, so it can be threaded directly into the tube. I'll show you all that whenever I take it off, as far as how they actually look in there. I love using nut certs because it's really just hassle free. You don't have to hold a nut on the bottom of anything, and with not being able to get in the car good, having somebody in the car and somebody under the car to hold the nut, it's just a big hassle. So with a nut cert, you know, your one wrench, take the stuff off from the top, not have to hold nothing on the bottom. So what I've got here is a piece of smoked Lexan. I actually got this from a buddy here at a local auto glass place, and I'm probably not going to use this now that I'm thinking about it. I'll probably get the Optic Armor, just a big sheet, a 4x8 from them, of the really dark tinted Lexan, and just use this more of a template. So what I've got here, you can see I've got the nut cert strips all the way around here, because we deleted the hatch on the car, which took a lot of weight off the back, and I've got it drilled all the way around here to match those. Well, here I'm going to cut the hole for the vent to come out. So because this vent tank is at a different angle than the back window, the stack will actually be leaned back like this, to where it looks flat or matches the angle of the window. I don't really have to, because I'm not leaning it back that much, I really don't feel like trying to sand down and match the angle of the window, so I'm just going to lean the stack back, because you really ain't going to be able to see it hardly at all, just like that. So that'll make it a lot easier. So I'm going to cut the hole in this thing and drop it down on there and make sure it's lined up, and then I'm going to put a level on the stack, get some tape on it where I can take the tank out and weld the stack in place, and then the vent tank install will be completely done. Joey's back there in the back now, getting some sheet metal cut out for the firewall. We're going to start out with the small pieces and get them bead rolled, and just get the feel for working the sheet metal and fitting those up, and then we'll just work through getting piece by piece, and hopefully get this firewall mocked up today. So the way I do it is no fancy measuring. I think on Slick Rick, the last one I did, I actually did do some pretty good measuring and hit it first time. But on a situation like this, basically just push the Lexan up, put the tube in there, put it where you want it, have somebody come out here while you're holding it in there and trace the outline, which I showed earlier, drill the hole out. Then you've got your hole. Then go and drop the tube in. I squeeze the tube just a little bit out of round in the vise where it would hold kind of tight in the hole. Put it in there the depth I wanted. I actually had to trim some off of it, because if you look down in there, you want it to be off of the baffle as much as you can, because that reduces air velocity coming out of this. The more, you know, it can be distributed in that area down there. So now that I've got it where I want it and the height I want it, it's pretty snug in there anyway, but I come in here and put some tape on it just to hold the tube in place. And now I'm going to carefully take the back Lexan off, and I'll take the tank out and I'll weld the tube exactly where it is, and it'll be good to go. I might actually make some marks on it whenever I take the Lexan off, just to make sure it doesn't try to move or something, just so I'll have a reference to go by without putting all the stuff back together. So everything's welded on now, stacks in place. I actually done a washout pass over my tab here to make the weld look more uniform. When I put that tab on the side, I done it in the car. That way I could ensure everything was going to line up right. And I always do that if I'm able to. If I have to get something lined up with a certain bolt hole or something like that, if I can at least tack it up or weld a good portion of it inside the car or on the car, I'll do that, because it's just a lot easier knowing that it's going to be right and it's going to be lined up versus trying to measure it, make some marks on the tank, and just do it out here and then back and forth to the car to test fit and whatever. So it's just easier if you can bolt up your tab and weld it as much as you can in the car. That way you don't have to measure nothing when you get out. So I'm gonna get this thing back in here now. No point to put the Lexan back on because it's just gonna be in our way from now on. I just needed to cut the hole for the template. Just gonna show you the nut certs here. These are M6, right in the crest of the tube there. And one right in the middle of the X. Just makes for a really simple mounting solution for something that's not gonna have a lot of load on it. I wouldn't recommend putting them on something that's gonna have a lot of pressure on it or a lot of load, just like I said. But with this tank, it doesn't weigh that much. It's not going to be full of fluid because we're going to be emptying it pretty frequently. So those serve a good purpose for that, and that way I don't have to weld tabs on the tube or anything else. And if the nut certs go bad, I can just drill them out and put new ones in there, so no big deal there. So let's go back here and see what Joey's doing with the sheet metal. Mittler Brothers shrinker stretcher. This is how we put a curve in a piece of sheet metal. I think it's going to work out really good in this corner. Instead of putting a break, it'll be a curve to match the tubing. So today was one of those days where I just got tired of trying to film everything and just let the camera die, and we just worked. So it's a good thing because we got like 80% of the firewall done. Check it out. All right, so just going to walk you through panel by panel, kind of what we're thinking here. This one, the top panel here is going to overlap this flap right here and go right up through here and have rivets that tie it in. I may actually weld it. I probably will weld it. I was thinking rivets, but the rest of it's going to be welded, so why put rivets in it? But that's a good support for that flap in the corner right there, having that break and having it rested on the tube. So that worked out good. We welded it straight to the body and all the way down to the tube. There's a filler panel on the bottom that fills in the corner. Got our little triangle pieces there where the mid plate gussets are. Now this piece was a little bit challenging. I let Joey handle it, but he used the shrinker stretcher machine to shrink the metal here and make a curve to kind of follow this radius of this tube. Now this tube does not dead end at the bottom of the A-pillar. It has to be stepped in because of the dry sump tank and where the fittings are and stuff on that. I think I explained that in one of my other videos about having to add these bars, because the car had just diagonals here, but they changed the rule and the other side had to be 1 5/8 a couple years ago, and these were only 1 1/4. So I had to cut both sides out, and I put a bend. I asked my cage inspector about it, sent him pictures, and he said that I told him that I wanted a bend in it because I needed more foot room. I needed to be able to fully depress the clutch inside here and still be all the way in the firewall. And if I did a diagonal bar like everybody does on the Pro Mod chassis, then when I push the clutch in, my foot would be coming outside of that bar, and I didn't want that. So he said that he understood my reasoning of that and that he would let it go with a bend in it, because I was trying to keep my foot inside the cage. So appreciate cage inspectors that have some common sense when it comes to you trying to work around a chassis that you've got. So this side we let it overlap because it did not dead end onto the A-pillar. We let it overlap the corner, and then we're going to put a filler panel here that comes up and stops rocks from collecting right here, so that'll be all closed in. This is one panel here with a bend in it. We've got it tacked all the way down, which all these panels are just tacked in. Nothing's been officially stitch welded in. They're just very small tacks to hold it all together for, you know, until we get it all in here. we got to put this panel in, the top panel, and then that panel down there. And the firewall will be completely fit up at that point. So really excited that we got that much done today. I know it don't look like a lot, but when dealing with sheet metal, that's probably one of my most despised things about fabrication, because we haven't done enough of it for us to really be proficient at it. So it takes us a little while to get our mind wrapped around what we want, and that's how it is. You just have to work. I like learning new stuff, but I like learning new stuff whenever I'm getting paid for it or I've got disposable time, which neither one of these I have with this car. So that's it's a good learning experience for us to kind of work with some sheet metal some more, and especially on a car that's supposed to represent the shop. So I think it turned out good, the stuff we done today, and I'm pretty pleased. I will say that my vent tank here, I noticed that my Lexan was kind of sagging in the middle. So it's a good thing I let it stick out just a little bit, because the Lexan really is supposed to be about right there. So we're still out of the window. Get a trim ring on there, and that'll do just fine. The reason is my support bar in there is out of plane with the side supports just a little bit. I got that in there because you see so many cars that don't have any support for the Lexan, and the windows are blowed up like balloons when they're going down the track. And sometimes you can't help it, even with support. I mean, the air is going to get in the car and it's got to get out. I know the grub worm, it was ripping the Zeus fasteners out of the back with so much air is getting in that thing. And I mean, there's no way to stop it, but you need to support your windows. That's why you got your latches at the top of your door windows now that they make you have. Why you put a brace up the middle of the windshield if you've got more of a flat windshield instead of like an OEM formed one from Optic Armor. So just a good idea to support your windows. So I'm gonna come in here probably sometime this coming week. I won't get back up over here this weekend, but I'll come in here probably in the mornings, maybe an hour or two here and there, try to get all this stuff stitch welded on the firewall, or I might just you know, stay after one night and just do it all at one time. Sometimes when you get in the groove, it's easier just to do it all than do it in little spurts. Get all this stuff stitch welded in. That way, when Friday comes, all we'll have to do is fit those 3 panels. I'll go ahead and weld those in, and the firewall will be done. Then it'll be on to doing something else. And I've got like a 2-page list of stuff left to do on the car that we're just going to work through one by one. The transmission, I've about decided I'm just going to do like a Kevlar blanket around it. I know that G-Force makes one that's like 34 inches in length by like 19, and that'll pretty much go all the way around the transmission and cover 95% of it, just measuring it. For those that haven't seen, this is my transmission. This is the Tick Performance 4-speed race transmission. This has got my original G-Force gears that I put in my car the last season was run. I had Jonathan upgrade it to the 4-speed version, where they delete 5th and 6th gear, add their nice shifter they got out now, do the input shaft speed sensor, and also do an anodized red sprayer plate, which is exclusive to them with the T56 transmissions. So it would match the shifter, because I know all this stuff's going to be exposed. We're just running a transmission blanket around it. You're going to be able to see all that, so we're going to look like a pro mod, and that's the goal. So thanks for watching. I know the update's been kind of short, and there ain't been a lot of stuff going on, but just want to show you every detail of this journey getting this car back together, because there's so many details that go into putting one of these cars back together, that and so much time, and this is why it takes so long at shops to get stuff done, and things are so expensive, because just the man hours is extreme when you're doing a car from scratch. So keep up with the build, subscribe to the channel. I forgot what I was going to tell you. It sucks trying to end the videos. I'll just see you next time. How about that?